Welcome again to West 4th and Goal, presented by Old Carolina Barbecue Company, a podcast for high school sports fans in north central Ohio. My name's Kurt Conrad, and I'm here with producer Noah Jones. We're coming to you from the IdeaWorks podcast studio on West 4th Street in downtown Mansfield. As always, we'd like to thank Old Carolina Barbecue Company for their continued support of the show.
Old Carolina Barbecue is authentic barbecue inspired by the Great Carolinas. Head on over for your Sunday meal and have all-you-can-eat barbecue at 2035 4th Street in Ontario, Ohio. And you'll agree it's the best barbecue in town.
While we're at it, Noah, we need to thank Two Cousins Pizza, the official pizza of West 4th and Goal. Andy McIntyre and his team offer up some of the best pizza in town, as well as subs, salads, stromboli, and foldovers. And Noah, I think, we're going to do that again. And Noah, didn't you just tell me that the gluten-free option is among the best in town?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I wanted to say something about that too. So I have a friend who came in town, and he has celiac disease. And we're over at the coffee shop in town, and he goes, "So what's this Two Cousins? They say they have really good pizza, and I can have it because it's gluten-free." And I was like, "Really? Okay." I had never heard that before. We try it, and the sauce is on fire. It's so yummy, and I don't really love gluten-free crust pizza,
right.
But that was legitimate. It was so good that, in fact, when my friend left, he said, "Man, that pizza was really good," and it had been like 18 hours since we had it.
Right. So no matter what you're hungry for, give Two Cousins a call at 419-522-2211 or stop by the shop at 103 North Main Street in downtown Mansfield. Now, if you're a regular listener, you may have noticed we're a man down this week. Co-host Effie James can't be with us. His daughter is a volleyball player at Mansfield Senior, and the Tigers were finishing up their season this year. And Eff texted me earlier today and said she'd gotten the call, Noah. She got promoted to the varsity, so it's a big night for Eff and his family.
Yeah, huge night. Always fun to see success, so hopefully she does well in her debut.
Right, and we will soldier on without him this week, but rest assured he'll be back with us again next week. Noah's gonna jump in and take on a bigger role, although
I'm gonna try.
Yeah, he's gonna kind of have one eye on his computer. He's a big St. Louis Cardinals fan, and they were putting it on
the
Atlanta Braves in Game 5.
No, I'm actually more focused on the fly sitting on one of the microphones.
Yeah, I see him flying around in here too. Now it's week 7 already, and the playoff picture is beginning to come into focus. Undefeated Mansfield Senior is atop the Division III Region 10 standings, and the Tigers are a virtual lock for a postseason berth. Gallion, Clear Fork, and Shelby are all kind of duking it out in Region 14 and Division 4, and Lucas is sitting in a pretty good spot in Division 7, Region 25. The Cubs are in the hunt for their 6th consecutive playoff berth, and that's the longest active streak in north central Ohio. Noah, that brings me to the quiz of the day. Do you know who has the second longest streak in north central Ohio?
I'll take a guess. It's Shelby.
Nope. It's the Hillsdale Falcons in nearby Ashland County. Yeah, absolutely. Hillsdale is on the hunt for their 4th consecutive playoff berth. The Falcons are 5-1 and currently sitting in Region 22 of Division 6. In honor of our guest, I have dug into the closet and dug out the vintage 1991 Hillsdale boys basketball practice jersey. There's probably not a whole lot of these floating around anymore. There are not many of them in circulation. It's kind of old and crusty. It's kind of like my my basketball game, though. It's not in great shape at this point.
We'll have a photo of it up on our Twitter account, West 4th and Goal.
Anyhow, no, you know my rule. I'm a staunch believer that once you become an adult, you shouldn't wear jerseys, yours or anyone else's, certainly anyone else's. It's okay, I think, this time, because this one was actually mine. It's 25 plus years old, but it was mine. I wore it to practice every day, and didn't take great care of it back then. I'm surprised it's still holding together, but it is. And I wore it in honor of this week's guest. We are joined by junior linebacker and running back for the Hillsdale Falcons. We're glad to welcome Ty Williams into the studio. Ty, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I think the question on Noah's mind and on mine is, what do you think? I mean, is it holding up pretty well, the jersey?
I think it looks really good, actually. I'm pretty sure I wore something pretty similar to that during a student section appearance that I had.
Now, Noah's he doesn't necessarily think so, but
I just think that You're never too old to have a hero.
And maybe it's a product of the job I do. I work with athletes all the time, so I don't necessarily see them as heroes. They're just people that I have to talk to. Do you have any jerseys in your closet, Ty?
Oh, yeah. I actually have 2 Browns jerseys right now. I have a Myles Garrett jersey and a Denzel Ward jersey.
Not a Baker Mayfield jersey, though. He had a rough night the other night.
Yeah, you may want to keep that one under all the other clothes in your closet for a little bit.
Well, all kidding aside, I'm glad to have Ty here because what's been going on over at Hillsdale in the last decade or so is really sensational. I think Hillsdale is 84-35 since 2009, and that includes, this season. They had 7 playoff appearances in that time, 3 Wayne County League titles. And Ty, what is when I went there, there wasn't a lot of winning going on in the football program. But what's the culture like there now? Do you guys just kind of expect to win every game out?
Yeah, we expect to at least compete. So even if the other team has a better record than us or going into it, we expect to compete with everybody we play against and hopefully come out with a win. Right.
And your dad, Tom, who's here today, he's not in the podcast studio with us, but he came with you over here. He's kind of the architect of all this. He in 15 season, he was 98-63. That was through the end of last season. In that time, Hillsdale had won 199 games in 56 seasons of football, and I'm not great at mathing. Adding and subtracting is a challenge to me. But I mean, your dad was responsible. The other coaches were responsible for 102 wins in 41 seasons, and your dad was responsible for 98 and 15 seasons. I mean, did you realize, I guess, that you're under the same roof as a coaching legend?
Yeah, I really don't think about it that way. Now that you mention it, I'm kind of thinking about it, and it's kind of crazy to think about that. But, yeah, I see him as dad, and I see him as one of my football coaches.
Right. Is there and I kind of run into this thing because I coach my son's baseball team, and I tell him when we're at the ballpark, he should call me coach and not dad. I mean, once we go home, that's fine. I'm dad again. But when we're at the ballpark, I'm coach. I didn't know. Is that similar to what you guys do, or?
He usually doesn't really care about that as long as I'm still respectful. That's his biggest thing is respect him and stuff.
Right. Now your dad graduated from Ashland High School in '91. He was the quarterback of the football team in '90, and I think he threw for more than 800 yards. And this is a time Ashland throws on every down almost now, but back then it was a more balanced offense. I mean, does he talk much about his playing days? What do you know about Dad, the quarterback from 1990?
I know his team struggled quite a bit when he was there, so he talks about that. That's about all.
Does he ever mention the 1991 American Legion baseball team that he played on?
I don't think I've heard that story.
The only reason I ask is because he and I were teammates on that team. We won a district championship and played at the state American Legion baseball tournament down in Athens. A lot of really good baseball players on that team. Ryan Teglovic, who's now the head football coach at Colonel Crawford, he graduated from South Central. He was on that team, and Kevin Morrow, also from South Central, is on that team. He's the head baseball coach at Lexington now, and Mark Lamoureux, who's my insurance agent here in town, was on that baseball team too. So it was a talented bunch. Now a lot of people may not realize this, but you were a member of Ashland's first family of softball. Your grandfather Tom coached Ashland High School for a lot of years, more than 20 years, I think. Took him to the state finals in Division I in '97. That was one of the first assignments, or first softball assignments that I covered. Your grandmother, Donna, she managed the tournament. The state softball tournament used to be in Ashland for a lot of years, and Donna was the manager. I mean, is softball a big part of your upbringing?
I wouldn't say softball in general, but definitely sports has always been a part of my life. I've always loved sports, and I still remember going out and playing wiffle ball with my grandpa when I was younger and stuff like that.
Right. What are your first memories of Hillsdale football? I mean, you were probably young. You're young enough that you've only known them winning. I mean, they were some pretty good playoff teams, I guess, when you were coming up.
Oh yeah, actually, my first memory of Hillsdale football was when my dad was coaching the All-Star game. It was wasn't even Hillsdale football, but it was my first time I was allowed to be a water boy on the sideline. And on a kickoff return, I believe I actually got trucked by one of the players. So that was my first real memory of football.
And you loved it. You're like, yeah, give me all of this.
I was completely terrified.
So you come in as a freshman in 2017, and you're the starting middle linebacker on a team on a really good team. It's not like you were starting on a bad team. That's a team that reached the regional championship game before falling to Liberty Benton. Did you have any idea before the start of the season that you were going to have that big of a role as a 14-year-old?
I knew I would have a shot because like we just graduated some good linebackers, so I knew I'd have a shot, but I didn't know like that I'd be starting. I figured I'd play some special teams and maybe rotate in every once in a while, but it was kind of a surprise when I was starting week 1.
And I think, over 100 tackles that year as a freshman, right?
Yeah.
That year I would think is a special for you for a lot of reasons. You're playing for your father. Your older brother is a senior and the quarterback who set all the passing records at Hillsdale. I'm talking about Trey, who's now a baseball player at AU. But, what are your memories of that season? I would imagine that's got to be high among your memories.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. I remember the first few games I was still kind of figuring things out, but after that our defense played really well, and we just had a bunch of talented guys out there and a lot of guys that love to go make plays. So
was that the only time you ever had a chance to play with your older brother?
Well, that and then my freshman year of baseball, I played with him.
Now, not long after that freshman year for you, your family got some pretty tough news. Your mother, Tammy, was diagnosed with cancer. I don't think anyone is probably equipped to deal with that, but certainly not a 14-year-old. How hard was that for you and for the whole family?
It's the hardest thing we've really probably had to ever go through as a family, yeah.
When you got the news, where were you guys mentally there?
There was a lot of crying, a lot of tears, a lot of sadness. It was pretty horrible, yeah.
Well, how's she doing now? I understand things are a lot better now than they were.
She's doing a lot better, and she actually has her 1-year scan here on Friday, so that's a pretty big moment. Hopefully everything comes back clear. And she has been cancer-free for a year, is that right? Yep.
Okay.
Hopefully here.
Well, Tammy, if you're listening, we certainly wish you the best there. We're all pulling for you, so good thoughts coming from this way. Now, last year, Hillsdale again made it to the playoffs. You guys reached the regional semifinals. You lost to Sherwood Fairview in a snowstorm, like a blizzard at Findlay, at Donnell Stadium in Findlay. That loss brought to an end the careers of a lot of really good seniors. I think you lost your leading rusher, Garrett Smith, your leading receiver, Tyler McFadden, Garrett Goodwin, who did a little bit of everything. Alex Becker was the quarterback who joined us last year. He's my nephew. He was, a dual threat quarterback. I mean, what was that run like, and how? Did you realize at the time how much you were going to maybe miss those guys?
We knew like going into that year and then like coming into this year how much those seniors meant to us. But the biggest thing is just having to replace them on a consistent basis, because we have guys that can make plays, but we're still figuring out, like, we don't have Smitty back there who can, it seems like, get a first down whenever we hand him the ball, or Mike Garn coming off the edge who just always seems to make a big play. Alex Becker running for 100 yards a game, it seemed like, when he was healthy. So it just, you miss those huge plays and those big moments that they competed in. I would imagine that means your role has changed pretty dramatically from, you're probably, you've gone from just one of the guys last year to a guy who's one of the few guys with a lot of experience this year. Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially on defense, losing guys like Mike Garn, I had to take a little bit more of and Alex Becker on defense, more of a leadership role, and just more of the role that I need to make sure everybody's in their correct spot and doing their job, because we aren't as talented probably as we were last year. Right. And before last season, your dad stepped down as the head football coach. He's still around a lot on the sidelines. He just didn't, I don't think, wanted to do all the administrative works that comes with being a head coach. He's, like I said, he's still around on the sidelines. Has your dynamic with him changed at all, or is it still pretty much the same as it was? It's still the same for me. I don't even really notice a huge difference there. Yeah, it seems like he is very instrumental, and especially on the is he defensive coordinator? Yeah, he's the defensive coordinator. Yeah, I was gonna say, it looks like he calls most of the defenses for you. That brings us to this season. You guys got off to a 5-0 start. I don't know if anybody saw that coming. I certainly was not someone who thought that Hillsdale, given all the pieces that they lost, would be 5-0. Did you expect to be sitting here at 5-1 with 4 weeks to go? I think we always expect to have success at Hillsdale. It's just game in and game out. We want to go out there and compete, do our jobs, and come out with a win. So I think we knew we had to replace a lot of guys, but we were still counting on having a lot of success this year. Right. What's the secret? Is there a secret recipe? What's the secret to your success? Working hard in the off season, everybody doing their job. Right, we still got a lot to cover with Hillsdale's Ty Williams, but we need to take a quick break. You're listening to West 4th and Goal, presented by Old Carolina Barbecue Company.
Old Carolina Barbecue has recently installed a new drive-thru at their 2035 4th Street location in Ontario, Ohio. Go ahead and grab some authentic barbecue inspired by the Great Carolinas, and be sure to use the drive-thru. Old Carolina Barbecue, where the best barbecue in town is slow smoked with quick service.
Welcome back to West 4th and Goal. I'm your host, Kurt Conrad, alongside producer Noah Jones. Co-host Effie James is off this week. He took the night off to watch his daughter make her varsity debut in volleyball, but he'll be back with us next week. We're here with Hillsdale junior Ty Williams. And Ty, the Falcons suffered their first loss last week to a Norwayne team that is a lot better, I think, than their record suggests. The Bobcats were picked to win the Wayne County League in the preseason voting. I think Norwayne is the only team that in your high school career, the only conference team that you haven't beaten yet. What is it about those Bobcats that give you guys fits, you think?
It's probably just their massive size, I'd have to say, because Hillsdale in the past has had some huge guys, but in these past recent years, we've relied more on our speed, and our speed just hasn't got it done when they're as big as they are.
Right. I think the last time Hillsdale won was in 2014, so it's been a while here. Hopefully you can break that jinx here in next year. But Hillsdale hosts Chippewa this Friday. But before we look ahead to the rest of the season, there are a couple other things I think we'd like to talk about. The first is Hillsdale's historic 2018 baseball season. The Falcons reached the Division IV state championship game, fell to Toronto 3-1 in the finals. You were the starting second baseman on that team. Tell us, what was that run like? And, just talk to us a little bit about that for you and your teammates.
It's probably like one of my best sports memory, just how crazy it was playing in that huge stadium in front of all those different people from the community. And it's awesome to see how many people come out to support the team in an event like that.
Right. You guys had a generational talent as a pitcher, Jay Lucart, who's now at Wright State. I think he shut out Minster, I think, in the semifinals in a 1-0 game. When you're working behind a guy like that, I guess, is there ever a thought in your mind that you're not going to win a game that Jay Lucart started?
No. It doesn't matter how good the other team is. When Jay's on the mound, you expect to win, and you also expect to only get a couple balls your way, maybe, because with how many guys he's striking out.
Right. I think he threw a 2-hitter in the state semifinal game, so there's not a lot of action back there. Another huge story for Hillsdale fans is still kind of ongoing. Ryan B. is a 2014 Hillsdale graduate, and he signed as an undrafted free agent with the Washington Redskins. He survived training camp and he was cut, but then he was re-signed to the Redskins practice roster. Each NFL team keeps a 10-man practice roster. Your dad, Coach Ryan, I know he's still very involved in the community over there. I think he's was around before he left for Washington. What's that mean to everyone over there to know that even if you're from a small school, that there's the opportunity there is to make it big?
Well, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that you said. Being from a small school, a lot of people don't give you the chance that you can make it big like that. So it's just really awesome to see somebody from Hillsdale being able to go on and play in the NFL. It's pretty crazy.
Right. And did you have a chance to talk to him and stuff after he had signed?
Not really, because I never got to play with him. So
just
my
big
family's
timing you.
No, if you know Ryan, he's not that type of guy. He would, and I talked to Tom about it after he had signed, and he said, he went to Tom's the elementary school principal, and Ryan's mother worked at the elementary school, and he would go in to see him, and Ryan B., I don't know if you know this, he's 6'8" and the better part of 300 pounds, and there's not a lot of those guys over at Hillsdale. And if that guy walks into the elementary school, that's the biggest thing that any of those kids have ever seen. So yeah. He's a giant guy, but he's got a huge heart, from what I understand.
Excellent.
Now I saw on your dad's one of his social media feeds that earlier this year you got to spend a day at Ohio State watching the Buckeyes. Just tell us a little bit about that, and are they sniffing around? Do you have some big news that you want to share with us?
Every time he asks that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go there,
Right.
But it was still crazy because they take you out and they let you walk down through their tunnel, and I actually got to walk past Ryan Day, and then you're just next to all their recruits, and some of the recruits you're next to are some very large human beings. So I know I stood next to the top offensive tackle in the country actually while I was down there, and he's probably 6'9", about 300 pounds. So I didn't really match up with him, but
No, did they invite you down for the day? Is that what it was? Or?
Yeah, so I got to they served a meal before the game, and then I got to watch their warm-ups from the end zone. So that was awesome. So I was just a couple of feet from guys like Chase Young.
Right.
And then for the game, I got to sit in the front row right behind their sideline. So it was just an awesome experience.
And Cade Stover, a guy that we've had in here a few times as a freshman for the Buckeyes, he's played in a couple games. So it's possible. I mean, it happens.
I was going to say that too. I mean, going along with the player who's playing in Washington now, you also got Cade Stover sort of setting an example.
Right, and let's get back to you guys' season this year. Like we said earlier, you host Chippewa this week. They don't have a great record. On paper, this is a game you should probably win. Coming off a tough loss, I mean, is it hard to refocus after that? And what do you have to do to kind of shut down the Chips this week?
I think actually it makes it a little bit easier to refocus, kind of get ready to bounce back, and hopefully have a big win this week. We just have to make sure that everybody does their jobs. We have to be a little bit more physical this week and just play better all around.
Right. You guys are 5-1. I'm sure that you guys don't talk about it. It's stuff that sports writers talk about. I mean, I'm looking down the road, and there's real chance that you guys can go to the playoffs. Is that even a conversation that anyone has yet, or are you strictly focused on what happens Friday night?
It's definitely a conversation that we have because it's one of our team goals is to make the playoffs, but week in and week out, we have to focus on who we're playing because the only way you can make the playoffs is focusing on the team you play each week and hopefully beating that opponent.
Right, and you got a couple of big ones coming up down the road. I know Dalton is doing real well in the conference, and Wayndale is a pretty good team. So there's some big games coming up. In terms of this weekend, there's some big games, Noah, that I think that folks over here in Richland County are going to be paying attention to, and in Ashland County, too, for that matter, because Ashland comes to Arlen Field to take on Mansfield Senior. The Arrows have won 2 straight after losing their first 4 games of the year. I don't know what the score was last week against Madison, but it was pretty one-sided. Ashland quarterback Mitch Heilman, I think, threw for 5 touchdowns. He ran for 2 more. They're playing a Mansfield Senior team that's given up, I think, 21 points in 6 weeks. So that's one of the biggest games in the area. I mean, both teams are sitting atop the OCC conference standings at 2-0. So that's something that a lot of people are going to be paying attention to.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game to watch.
Another big game, I think, Gallion is 5-1 and 2-1, and they're at Shelby, and that's a game that has a lot of implications in terms of the Mid-Ohio Athletic Conference and in playoff. Both those teams are in Division 4, Region 14, and they're both in the top 8 right now, and the top 8 teams in each region qualify for the playoffs. Gallion is, I think, maybe the surprise of the area if it's not Hillsdale.
I was going to say, back before we had Lead AI going for us at Richland Source, we had me cover a lot of the Crawford County games, so I was pretty familiar with Coach Dick and the Tiger the Tiger ball game in general, not just the offense. So this season for them has been very exciting to sort of get to watch them be as good as they have been so far. Right, they lost for the first time last week to a good Clear Fork team, and Clear Fork's one of those teams that's duking it out for the MOAC and in that Region 14 playoff positioning. Shelby, all they do is score a bunch of points. McGuire Albert's the quarterback over there, and Owen Fisher's the running back. So that should be a pretty high scoring affair, and probably something that a lot of people are going to be looking at. Yeah, it's good to have. I would imagine it's good to be a fan in Gallion and have something like that to look forward to on Friday nights now. Right, and I think another game that is interesting to local folks is St. Charles. Columbus St. Charles is coming to Lucas. Columbus St. Charles is a Division II school. And they're 4-2. They're a pretty good Division II school. They're playing against the Division 7 program in Lucas. I mean, I don't know if the Cubs maybe have bitten off more than they can chew this time, but Coach Spittler down at Lucas, he's done this the past few years. They've played bigger schools, and they always seem to come up big in those situations. But well, the last, you're going to have to remind me the name because I just can't remember it, but the last guy we had who played for Lucas that was on our podcast, Logan Nicewonder, the quarterback. Yeah, he said something cool. He was like, it's a win-win for us. We either learn how to play better and defeat. Like, if they lose, they still learn the amount of toughness that they have to get to be better, or they win and they get a ton of points for playoffs. Yeah, and they are in a no-lose situation there, and I don't really understand why a big school like St. Charles would schedule that game, because they're really in a no-win situation. If you beat a Division 7 school, you're supposed to beat a Division 7 school because you're 5 divisions bigger than they are, and if you lose to it, there's going to be some questions asked about the program. Yeah, no, I think that's true. I don't really understand it, but I also hope they're not listening so that maybe they could do it next year too.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's just about gonna do it for us here this week on West Fourth and Goal. We'd like to thank Ty Williams for joining us, and you've been listening to West Fourth and Goal, presented by Old Carolina Barbecue Company. On behalf of co-host Effie James and producer Noah Jones, I'm Kurt Conrad, saying thanks for listening. West Fourth and Goal is a part of the Richland Source Podcast Network and is produced and edited by Noah Jones. I'm your host, Kurt Conrad, and on behalf of co-host Effie James, thanks for listening.